Welcome to the QEP Listening Rubric training video. The purpose of this training is to provide an overview of the first line of the QEP Listening Rubric, which pertains to nonverbal behaviors that support active listening. Active listening is defined as a conscious decision to listen to and to understand the person speaking. Because part of active listening is an internal process that cannot be measured, we will be focusing on identifying measurable nonverbal behaviors that support active listening. Research suggests that there are 5 nonverbal behaviors that are commonly associated with listening, and they are eye contact, facial expressions, gestures and body movement, posture, and the ability to mitigate distractions. In order for a student to score on the first line of the QEP listening rubric, he or she must effectively exhibit these behaviors. Let's discuss what we consider to be effective in terms of the 5 nonverbal behaviors previously mentioned. Eye contact is one of the most important nonverbal behaviors commonly associated with active listening. Even though it is possible to listen to someone you're not physically looking at, research suggests that listening is more likely to occur when you make eye contact with the speaker. For listeners to exhibit effective eye contact, they should look at the speaker throughout the majority of the presentation. Their eyes should not shift to their desks or to any other distractions around the room. While they may shift their gaze to another group of speakers during a question and answer session, their focus should be on whoever has the floor at a given time. The face is considered to be the single most important source of information about which specific emotion someone may be expressing, and is capable of producing over 250,000 different expressions. However, even the most enthusiastic of speakers will typically decrease the quality of facial expressions when they themselves become the listener by squinting their eyes or furrowing their brow or turning down the corners of their mouths. While this behavior is normal, it tends to suggest to the speaker that the listener does not understand or agree with what the speaker is saying. For listeners to exhibit effective facial expressions, they should have a pleasant look on their face. It should not be in the form of a scowl or a frown, unless that response is being elicited by the speaker. Instead, they should have what McGowan and Bowman call a best friend face. This should be like a curious expression that we may have when we're listening to our best friend tell a great story. Look for listeners to have a closed mouth, a quarter smile, and a relaxed face. How many times have we heard the phrase, actions speak louder than words? This is because what we say with our hands and our body is more powerful than what we say with our mouths. While gestures and body movement do not constitute a language, the person viewing these gestures is more likely to attribute meaning to them. A slight nod can affirm that the listener is paying attention to and understands the message being delivered. Feet and hands that are still suggest that effort is being made to pay attention to and understand the listener. For listeners to exhibit effective gestures and body movement, they will slightly nod their heads throughout the listening process to indicate agreement or understanding. These listeners will also keep their hands and their feet still, avoiding fidgeting while the speaker is presenting. Our posture can show our willingness and openness to communicate with others. It can also close out others and shut down all communication. Richmond, McCroskey, and Hickson, who are key researchers in nonverbal communication, refer to one of the main dimensions of posture as immediacy. Immediacy includes direct body orientation, symmetric positioning, and forward leans. For listeners to exhibit effective posture, They will lean slightly forward or sideways when in a seated position. They should not slouch in their chair or turn their body away from the speaker. Instead, they should aim to angle their body toward the person who has the floor at the time. External and internal noises are all around us and do not necessarily have to be audible to be considered a noise. This can refer to anything that diverts the listener's attention away from the speaker. While all noise cannot be eliminated, effective listeners do what they can to ignore distractions that interfere with active listening. For listeners to exhibit effective mitigation of distractions, they should attempt to make the speaker their main focus. They should not be looking around at their phones or playing with their hair, doodling on paper, looking at their watch or a clock, playing with personal belongings, or focusing on anything other than the speaker. The listener should resist any distractions that cross their path so that they can focus on the speaker's message. Thank you for viewing the QEP Listening Rubric training video.